What does the Bible say about Judgment Day? Find out next on Zola Levitt Presents.
Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. Zola Levitt presents
Welcome to Zola Levitt Presents. I am David Hart.
And I'm Kirsten Hart.
Jeffrey Seif.
We are in the middle of our series, Thy Kingdom Come, which first aired in 2001 with our wonderful founder, Zola Levitt.
And we have you, our senior theologian,
Well, it's
Dr. Jeffrey Seif.
It's nice to be with you.
Today's topic is on Judgment Day. I almost feel like it's da-da-da-da. Like, what's Judgment Day? Is it going to be horrible, scary?
It's scary, you know. That's the bad news. You want some good news?
Yes, please.
We have a lawyer. How about that?
Good.
New Testament calls Christ our advocate, Messiah our advocate. We're going into court with the Son himself. We'll come out fine.
And not guilty, right? Is that what
Not
we're going to be
guilty.
faced? That's good news today. Let's go hear some more good news from our founder, Zola Levitt, in Israel.
Revelation 20, verse 4 says this, And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. Here, obviously, God is rewarding the righteous who died, who were beheaded because they believed in Jesus. They didn't take the mark of the Antichrist. And we're talking about people during the 7-year tribulation. We're at that point in our study of the future of the believers. And these are believers that were outlaws, actually, under the Antichrist's reign, and many were apprehended and executed for their faith. And here we read of the Lord resurrecting them. There's 4 groups of people that have to be dealt with at the end of the tribulation. The righteous dead, the wicked dead. There were people who took the number of the beast but died otherwise, say in the Battle of Armageddon or whatever, and they too are to be judged. And then there are the righteous living and the unrighteous living. There were the living people that made it through the tribulation. They didn't take the mark. They somehow hid out. They were outlaws but never apprehended. They were taken in by people who, when they needed shelter, they were fed and so on. We're going to come to that. And they lived through the whole thing. And they are judged at this point too, and they are called the sheep. And then there's the unrighteous living. Those that took the number of the beast, survived the whole tribulation. They are judged at this time too, and they're called the goats. And we're going to come to that. Psalm 96:13 says, For he cometh to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with righteousness, and the people with his truth. And where does he judge? Right here. Joel 3:1-2 says, For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. This is the Valley of Jehoshaphat, or anyway, it's around the corner from it. It starts at the far side called the Kidron Valley, comes around behind me to the Hinnom Valley, and here is where he will judge the nations. Nations in Hebrew is goyim, or Gentiles. There will be a great many Gentiles, the tribulation period population, to be judged at this time. And the very word Jehoshaphat in Hebrew means Jehovah judges. He is the righteous judge. First off, he deals with Satan. The devil who has confounded the unbelievers, blinded them all this time. 2 Corinthians 4:4 deals with this. The God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. So here in this valley, first off, he will gather the population and bind Satan for 1,000 years. And so the sheep and goats are assembled in the valley, for the judgment by the Lord in what Joel calls the valley of decision. This again is for the 7 years worth of tribulation people who are still alive, who are surviving. Believers and unbelievers as it happened. We can pick this up in Matthew 25, 32, 33. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. You know, you could see this acted out in Jerusalem. Up till recently, there used to be a sheep and goats market kind of at the northern wall of the temple, and the Bedouin would bring in their animals from the wilderness. They were using trucks. In the old days, they drove them in on their feet, but I saw them when they had trucks, and they were running off the back of the trucks, and the baby sheep and baby goats look somewhat alike, but the sheep are much more valuable. And they have a boy standing with a stick, and he carefully separates the sheep from the goats. They've been doing this for so long. The Lord saw it, the people at his time saw it, and when he used this expression, he'll separate the sheep from the goats, it must have been very compelling on them indeed. And the judgment goes like this. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, that's the sheep, Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And he's very pleased with these believers. And he says just why. He says, For I was hungry, and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. You know, they acted like believers. They demonstrated faith by treating especially the 144,000 this way. That 144,000 are the Jewish believers that are going around in the tribulation testifying of Christ. They are outlaws, obviously, in the Antichrist society. And when one came to your door, say at midnight, say with the police not far behind, and cried out for shelter or for food or for something, clothing, something to thirst, something to drink, you could either demonstrate faith, if you had faith, by saying, all right, come in quickly, close the door, take care of him, or give him food or whatever he needed. Or if you weren't a believer, you would say, well, come on now, you're an outlaw. You don't even have a number on you. Get out of my yard. Get away from here. I don't want the police here. And you would throw them out. But that would make you a goat in this hearing. You wouldn't have treated them that way. And in their honesty, the sheep answer the Lord this way. Then came the righteous to answer him, saying, Lord, when saw thee hungry and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee to drink? When saw thee a stranger and took thee in, and so on? They said, frankly, we never even saw you. And then he gives the maxim of the judgment in verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Let me translate that nice and clear for you. If you've done it for my Jewish brothers, I give you credit for having done it for me. When one of those 144,000 knocked on your door, or someone they had brought to faith, and you treated them well, and you took them in, and you gave them what they needed, it was as if it were me, myself. And if you turned them away, it's as if you turned me away. Gosh, he tells, visit them that are in prison. Christ and his men were often in prison. That's part of being a Christian, especially in their time. Well, prisoners know that the Lord said, remember them which are in bonds. And, you know, when we get letters at our ministry from penitentiaries and so on, we send books, we treat them well because the Lord recommended them to us. Paul was in prison in Philippi, and we visited his prison when we were on the tour. You know, these goats try to answer the same way. They say, we never even saw you. What do you mean? You didn't come to my door. And he answers them the same way in verse 45. Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And it's as if Christ came to their door and they turned him away, which they would if they were unbelievers. Unbelievers turned him away often, and the apostles as well. And this one, though, has a punchline on it. At the end of the chapter, in verse 46, it says, And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous unto life eternal. For those 7 years worth of people in the tribulation, the Lord holds this entire immigration, and separates the sheep from the goats, takes the sheep into the 1,000-year kingdom with them. Now they go in their natural bodies. That's different. We're going to bring that up. But in any case, from this point, even people that were martyred are going in the kingdom with him. All believers are going in the kingdom with him, and all the wicked, dead and living, are going to be bound with the devil the 1,000 years until the kingdom ends. Back after this.
Our resource this week, the series Watch Therefore and Be Ready on DVD. This 8-program series points to prophecy being fulfilled, encouraging us to be ready for the Messiah's return. Each program includes location teaching, reports from Israel, in-studio analysis, plus music from David and Kirsten Hart. Contact us and ask for the DVD series Watch Therefore and Be Ready.
Sometimes the journey to Jerusalem can be a long one. Abraham journeyed for 62 years from Ur and then offered his son Isaac as a sacrifice to God atop of Mount Moriah. The Ark of the Covenant journeyed for 500 years until it found its final resting place in King Solomon's temple atop the very same mount. Our journey to Jerusalem is only complete when we can finally cast our eyes upon God's holy mountain. This will be a journey you will never forget. When your feet touch this holy ground, you will know what I mean.
For your free brochure on our next tour to Israel, call 1-800-WONDERS.
You can see and experience for yourself all the sites where Zola has been teaching from for this whole series. Simply go to levitt.com, click on our tour page, find out about our fall tour and our spring tour. We go twice a year. We would love to have you on the bus with us, seeing the Holy Land. Now let's go back to Zola from Israel.
Well, here's the Valley of Decision. The Lord will assemble all the people in the tribulation here. You know, this test of Israel, if you follow our ministry, you know that we are constantly harping on the churches, on the seminaries. Don't forget the Holy Land. It isn't a matter of how did you treat them. It's a matter of reminding you that there is a Holy Land, that there is a promised land, that we're going here for 1,000 years. Here. It's here to see. And if you go through the seminaries these days, you hardly hear of Israel. The churches, it's not polite to mention it. I'm summoned to a church to teach Passover, and I'm told by letter that don't mention end times prophecy. That's a buzzword for don't stand there and talk about Israel, just teach us Passover. That's pretty tricky when you think about it, since this is the crown jewel of God's feast for Israel. But anyway, you know, this is going to be the test at the end. The Lord has a lot to do at this time. When I'm saying the end, I'm saying the end of the tribulation, the second coming, when the age changes completely, when the world goes over into the 1,000-year reign, and everything will change. The lion will lie down with the lamb. The child will play at the snake's den. Things will be peaceful in the world. And it won't be like one comedian said that, you know, the lion may well lie down with the lamb, but the lamb won't get much sleep. No, the lamb will sleep peacefully because the lion will be pacified and the whole world in general will be pacified. The thing that characterizes the entire kingdom is it's an age of peace right up until the very end, and we're going to talk about that. But anyhow, the Lord has some people to dispose of now, the dead and the living. Revelation 20, verse 5 deals with the dead. We've just come from Revelation 24, which I commented before about the believers from the tribulation. They hadn't received the mark. They lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. And then the next verse, 20, verse 5, but the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. They are bound with Satan. And then the next verse, verse 6, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. There are two major resurrections. They're spoken of in the gospel, the resurrection of the just and the resurrection of the wicked, or the unrighteous, or however it's put. And the first resurrection is of the just, the church, the believers of the tribulation, but also way back, the believers of all time. I said Old Testament saints. Yes, at this time, the Old Testament saints are raised. Daniel 12:2-3 says some are raised to everlasting life, some lowered to shame and contempt. The Old Testament does speak of the resurrection, whether your Jewish friend thinks so or not. Adam will be there. Adam is part of this resurrection. Cain and Abel will be there, and we can easily see who's the sheep and the goat in that case. The prophets, the patriarchs, people will be there from all ages. And, you think of a personality like Job, who said to God, appoint me a tmuna, a given time that I can be in the grave, and you will want the work of your hands. You will desire the body of Job, and he says, and so in my flesh will I see God. Well, this is the time that God will settle with people from all times, as they are believers or unbelievers, as they go to the kingdom or as they are bound with Satan. Zechariah 2:8-12 speaks also on Israel and judgment. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. He's talking about Israel. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. There's an expression we use all the time, the apple of his eye. God uses it to talk about Israel. For behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants, and ye shall know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith the Lord. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people. Many nations, how do you like that? Nations, Gentiles, gosh, it goes back to Adam's time and Noah and all of those people before the covenant with Abraham. It goes forward to the tribulation, to the Gentiles saved in that time, and that will be a time of Gentile salvation. And they'll all be joined to the Lord and shall be his people. And I will dwell in the midst of thee. And thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto thee. And the Lord shall inherit Judah his portion in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again. Indeed, God will reign from Jerusalem. Jerusalem never disappears from history, not ever. I mean, it's 3,000 years old now. It's been conquered, they say, 29 times and rebuilt. By the way, you're hearing bells and shouting in the background because there are herds in this valley. This valley is inevitably to be a valley of judgment, was in Christ's time called Gehenna. It was hell. It was hell on earth. It was a dump for the city. There was a fire going all the time, and garbage thrown out from the gate of the temple above, the dung gate, and the fire was going, and the Lord used it as the image of hell and punishment and so on. And of course, in this judgment, those goats the Lord separates out will be bound with Satan in hell, indeed. It's fascinating to come here, and a herd of goats comes with me, and the bells that you hear are hung around their necks so that the shepherd can keep track of them. And they hear him, and they know his voice, as the Lord said. My sheep know my voice, he said. Well, Isaiah talks about judgment in particular. He mentions the time of judgment 45 times in his book. His challenge is that we trust God, believe God, and go with God to the kingdom, and like Jerusalem, on into eternity in the New Jerusalem.
Our resource this week, the series Watch Therefore and Be Ready on DVD. This 8-program series points to prophecy being fulfilled, encouraging us to be ready for the Messiah's return. Each program includes location teaching, reports from Israel, in-studio analysis, plus music from David and Kirsten Hart. Contact us and ask for the DVD series, Watch Therefore and Be Ready. Our founder, Zola Levitt, established this ministry in 1979. Today, we continue bringing you the good news of Messiah and the truth about Israel via television, our newsletter, and the Internet. If you believe that this Bible teaching ministry is worthy of your assistance, then please call us at 1-800-WONDERS or visit us at levitt.com. We sincerely appreciate your prayers and your financial support.
We are so thankful for your financial support of this program that literally reaches around the world. Do you remember last time we were in Jerusalem, we were at our tour hotel, which they're wonderful, by the way, and we were getting on the elevator, and what did the guy say? Do you remember?
Where was he from?
Australia.
Yeah.
He came up, he said, "You guys are the TV people. I know you. I recognize you." So Zola Levitt Presents, because of your financial support, literally reaches around the world.
I'll say we've made some great friends around the world because of your support. We thank you for that.
And Dr. Jeffrey Seif, our senior theologian, is here. You co-hosted, or actually hosted, the program for 5 years. I'm sure you were recognized everywhere.
Yeah, nose like this, people don't, they don't long forget. But, you know, it's a great honor to be able to bring the good news to folk beyond the pews. You know, a pastor speaks in a church and 100, 200, or 1,000 people listen. We speak and it goes out to hundreds of thousands of people. That's why, relative to the support, you know, every pastor likes a dime to pay the mortgage, but here the rent isn't for a house that holds 2,000, it's for a house that holds 2 million all over the world, not just from the neighborhood.
Which is so exciting because those that give, and when you give, you're literally touching millions of people.
And that is the God's honest truth. It really is.
Here's the question of the day, Dr. Seif. Do we have freedom to choose our destiny in the kingdom era?
I believe that people need to have an internal locus of control. You know, the old devil made me do it. I'm driven by impulses beyond my control. Never abides with me. And when I hear Paul in the Corinthian correspondence, he says in verse 9, whether at home or absent, we make it our aim to be pleasing to him. And that is that we and you, we're deliberate. We make it our aim. We focus. We make it our desire. We don't just accidentally roll into a Christian life. Well, I feel like going to church today. Well, I feel like tithing. No, we make an executive decision. We decide who we are in the world and how we're going to be into the world. And he says it here, by the way. This precedes a verse that's on the menu for, there's a conjunction. He says, we make it our aim. And then weigh in on this. I don't want to just ramble.
No, you're
he says,
go.
we make it our aim to be pleasing, that deliberateness. And then in verse 10, for a conjunction, we must all appear before the judgment seat and give an account.
I was going to say, it's a good thing, honestly. Now, this might sound odd that I'm not God, because during this whole, especially the 1,000-year reign of Christ, I don't understand how people could not choose Christ and not choose to follow him. I know he gives choice. I don't think I would. I'd be like, well, you follow me because I'm the right way.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things I don't understand. There is a 1,000-year reign, but there is a breakaway at the end of it. When people are given the opportunity to make a choice, they choose poorly. It's like what happens with our children oftentimes, sad to say. You know, they're in the home, they're under the dome, but once they go off to college, you know, they visit gay Paris and they don't want to come back to the farm. You know, it's not at all uncommon for people to jettison biblical faith, virtue, and value when given the opportunity to do so. When they're under our tutelage, they're less apt, but once they're off the radar, when the cat's away, the mice play. It's unfortunate, but it's human nature.
All of us fail. Pastors fail. We hear that
all the
time. But there's hope, right?
There surely is. And I think we hear it too much of the time that pastors fail. And by that I mean it becomes some rhetorical piece to denigrate Christian faith, value, and virtue. Oh, look, even the reverends are screwed up. The truth of the matter, it's greatly overstated. For every minister that bites the dust, there's a zillion out there plugging away. No TV cameras are pointing at them. They're not filling up auditoriums with 1,000, just good people ministering to God's people. They never get the credit. And again, for every bad apple, there's 99 good ones in the bushel. Let's talk about that.
Right. And we have, I think it is beautiful. And I said, if I were God, I'd be like, you follow me, and there's no other choice. But he does give us choice. And that's why we're here to proclaim the good news and follow him because the rewards are great.
Yes, and that's a very Jewish telling, by the way. In the Jewish world, it's construed, we have what's called Yetzer Hara, which is the bad inclination, and Yetzer HaTov, which is the good inclination. Remember the Bugs Bunny cartoons? There's Bugs, and a little angel
right on there.
appears. Bugs, don't steal the carrot. The other one goes, Bugs, you can do it. Yetzer Hara, Yetzer HaTov, the good inclination, the bad inclination. People need to make a choice. And in the Jewish world, we think that individuals can make the decision. And I tell people it's important to make right decisions. I tell folk, everyone should be concerned about the future. You know why? Because we're all going to spend the rest of our life in the future.
Right.
And the quality of the future is going to be determined by the decisions that we make today.
The choices. Yes. Right.
Right, and choose well.
Choose well.
Because the rewards for choosing Christ, Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, far outweighs.
Girl, you're Hebrew,
I'm
I'm telling you, you're
bit-
sounding like a native.
I'm trying to get the ch in there.
No, you got to do it like you're about
I
to
think you
spit.
just got me.
It's our 5th time to Israel, so we're doing pretty
Hey,
good.
listen, you're just racking up those trips.
And our Hebrew lessons every week, they help us too.
Right.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
choice has rewards.
Yes, it surely, surely does. And may it be that we all make good choices. I think a lot of times in church, oh, just go to this church and sit here and put your money here and everything's going to come up roses. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. People need to make decisions.
Yes.
right.
Choose him.
We're going to hear a Zola song right now, but we end our program with this wonderful prayer.
Sha'alu, Shalom, Yerushalayim.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Our monthly newsletter, The Levitt Letter, is free and full of insightful articles and news commentary from a messianic perspective. Visit levitt.com to find our newsletter, along with current and past programs, our television schedule, and much more.
Don't forget to order this week's resource by calling 1-800-WONDERS, or you can purchase it from our store at levitt.com.
Your donations to Zola Levitt Ministries help these organizations bless Israel.
Thanks again for joining us this week. Zola Levitt Ministries and this television program depend on tax-deductible donations from viewers like you.
This has been a paid program brought to you by Zola Levitt Ministries.